How you guys doing? This is AJ with iCrack.com. We're the world's largest iPhone, iPod, and iPad repair company. And today we are going to be disassembling the new iPad mini. And we'll see what it takes to remove the digitizer and LCD and see what's different versus the last larger generation of iPads. So first we're going to be using a certain set of tools. We have a Gerber 2.0 pocket knife, a Phillips head screwdriver that's magnetized, an iSesamo opening tool, which is a pry tool for the digitizer and adhesive, a pair of tweezers, and what we love, these 2.25 inch high-powered suction cups to remove the display. So let's open this up. Apple just released this today, and so we're certainly excited about getting into this and seeing what they've put together. So what we're going to be doing is using a 1500 watt heat gun to apply heat to the perimeter of the iPad mini display, concentrating on the top and the bottom on these thick parts that will have more adhesive. So we'll turn that on and it'll take about 2 minutes to heat up, so we'll fast forward. So now that we've heated up the adhesive, we're going to use the iSesamo tool, and you're going to be very careful on this bottom right area where the digitizer cable is. So we're going to start, and we're going to slide it up and around and slowly remove it, and as always we can use the suction cups, but let's turn it and start. Make sure your iPad is turned off as you're doing this, and you're going to take the iSesamo and you're going to gently slide it under the adhesive, or under the digitizer. And you can see we're getting a little bit of a grip right there, and then you're going to start hearing the adhesive start to pull up. You can use a knife as well to hold your place, and then we're going to be sliding it across, and then you're going to be going around the perimeter. I'm going to try to do this so we don't break it on its first day. If the screen's already broken, you don't have to worry about that as much. And you can, as you're doing this, you can always liberally apply more heat, so this needs to be heated up more. You can hear the adhesive start to pull off. You got to be careful of the LCD with the iSesamo though. Careful of the camera. So we'll start on this edge. And we'll use a knife to hold our space. We'll go over the camera. You can see it after you go once, it's a lot easier to be getting under the adhesive. So now we're going to use these suction cups. You can watch how they work. We'll put it on, and then we're going to start prying off. So you can see the suction cups really, really working well. That's why we get 2 of them. And if you're using the suction cups, put them on the left side of the screen because you want to open it like a book, going like that. So we'll put it down and we'll start lifting. And don't be afraid to add as much heat as is necessary. So we'll put a little bit more. We'll bring the iSesamo tool down to this bottom area. Gotta be careful of the digitizer cable right here. So we'll get this stuff all out of the way. Careful not to break anything. And then we'll be lifting on the suction cup. You guys may see us break a brand new iPad. Looks like it accidentally got turned on while we were doing all this. which at this point is probably okay. but we'll turn it off here in a second. So we're working on this bottom adhesive right now. So you'll see that there's some adhesive there, and then let's go ahead and take the suction cups off so you can see what we're doing. And so the iPad mini got turned on while we were removing the thing, which is okay at this point. You can actually still turn it off since the digitizer is still connected, so we'll turn it off. It's kind of cool. And then you're going to be careful because the display connector, you can see, is right here. So we'll zoom in on that. So the display connector is right here on this bottom right corner. So there's the home button and then the lightning port, and then it's to the right of that. So we're going to start peeling this off. Make sure that if you try not to break the screen. There. So we got the display off, and we are going to lift it up and down like this. So we'll make some room for it and put it sideways so you can see it. And then you can remove any foam that looks like it's going to be getting in the way on the reassembly. Okay, so let's take a look at the inside of this. We have our home button and our home button wire right there that you can see is grounding to the display cable, and it looks like the home button wire is actually run off of the same digitizer wire as the display, so you can see that right there. We'll use our tweezers to point stuff out. So here's your rubber gasket on the home button, and then you can see the actual bottom of the digitizer running along the side right here, and then the digitizer cable right there, and the top of the iPad is up right here. We could check out, there's the home button again, and then there's the entire display assembly off of the iPad. So what we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be removing 4 screws, 4 Phillips heads. We use a size 00 Weeha that there's 4 Phillips heads on the 4 corners of the LCD. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. And looking at this, it looks like some of the screws are covered up. So we have one covered up with foam right there. And then we'll start out with this bottom one. And at iCracked, we also sell magnetized flow charts that you can put these screws on that you will never lose screws again while doing a repair. Let's see if we can keep the foam there on this top one. So keep the foam there. Use your Phillips head, push down, and we'll see if we can remove it with the foam on it. So it looks like we unscrewed that, so grab some tweezers and pull it out so you don't get anything dirty. And then the top, let's move over to the top. So here's the top of the iPad. Here you can see your FaceTime camera, and then the 2 screws on the corners. So let's, there's a screw that looks like it's under adhesive right here. So let's zoom in on that. So we're going to be peeling back this adhesive. You can use your iSesamo or you can use tweezers, and if it's still warm, it should be relatively easy to peel back. So you can see us peeling this back and then revealing another screw right there. So I'm going to hold the adhesive back and then use our Phillips head to remove this the third screw. And then let's look to the top of the iPad. Looks like there's another screw hiding under there. So we are going to keep the foam there, and you can remove it with the foam. You can take it off as well, but I want to reassemble this just how we disassembled it. So I'm going to leave the foam on there, and you can see it's right there. So now that we've removed the 4 Phillips heads on the 4 corners of the LCD, 2 of them being covered with foam, we're going to be carefully lifting the LCD up out of the iPad like this and then over on top of the digitizer. Some very important things to note are the LCD cable, which is right here on the iPad, as well as there's some circuitry right under the bottom portion of the iPad. So what we're going to be doing is, you see these two clips, there's clips 1 and 2. You're actually going to be lifting it up and you're going to feel them pop down. And you got to be very careful that you don't break the LCD, because there's a tiny bit of adhesive on the corner surrounding this that if you risk breaking it, you're going to have to replace it or have a broken LCD, which is fortunate because we sell the replacement parts, but you shouldn't have to replace it if you do everything correctly and take your time. So we're going to be lifting up from this top and opening it along the LCD lines. So let's go very carefully. I'd start at this back corner, and you want to apply even amounts of pressure across the entire thing. So you see it's lifting up, and you're lifting it up slowly, and you can feel a tiny bit of adhesive coming off here. I'll see if I can turn it right here. So you can see on this image right here, down into the iPad mini, you see a little bit of a circuit board connecting on the inside of there. So you're gonna feel it. You're gonna feel it click when it comes up, and you see these clips falling down into their space. So you want to push it down a little bit. Push it down, not too hard though, because you don't want to break the LCD. When you're lifting up, it should pop down. Alright, so there we have the digitizer on the right, LCD in the center right here, and then right there you can see we've dropped down the LCD. I'm going to use a suction cup just to hold up the LCD so we don't happen to break it, and it's held at an angle. So looking at the mid plate that we have under here, it looks like it may have been over-engineered a tad bit. It looks like there's 16 screws holding this mid plate on, and the screws are right here on this top and then on this bottom. So we're probably going to fast forward removing them, but use your trusty Phillips head and make sure to keep all the screws together. So we'll start doing that. So now that we've removed the 16 screws on this thin metal mid plate, the 16, 8 on each side, we're going to be lifting it up, very similar to how we pulled the LCD and digitizer off. We're going to be lifting it up and out of the assembly completely. So it might be a little difficult because it'll get caught, but you can basically see that how we're lifting it. You can jiggle it a little bit to get a little play on it. And it's helpful if you lift from the inside, and you can feel certain parts of it start to unclip. Be mindful of your LCD still. And then as that's coming out, you can see that it's just a thin piece of metal, flexible, and now we're getting to the core part of the iPad mini. So as in previous generations of iPad, these have enormous batteries in comparison to size of their logic boards, and this whole part that makes up probably about 80% of the internal is the lithium ion polymer battery that it looks like it comes in at about 4.3 volts with 4,400 milliamp hours. And so if you want to remove that, you're going to have to get to the adhesive that is holding the battery in. But what we're trying to do is remove the display assembly and LCD. And so what we're going to do is going to remove these next 3 screws, screws 1, 2, and 3, and we'll start working on this bottom part of the iPad. So now that we've removed that part, we're going to use our tweezers and gently pick up that metal plate. It should come off very easily. So now that we've removed the EMF shield that is surrounding the LCD and digitizer cable, we're actually going to be disconnecting the LCD first and then the digitizer. You're going to need to do this if you're doing the digitizer replacement. There's two things to note: the LCD connection right here and the adhesive right here covering the lightning connector, and we're going to have to remove both. But let's start with the LCD connection. You can just pop it up. So the LCD connection pops up right there, and you can bend it back a little bit, and you can see that there's still a little bit of adhesive or a little bit of tape still holding it together. I'm going to try using a knife to cut it just so it's going to be a clean removal. So you see I used a little pocket knife to cut it. Make sure you're not cutting any sensitive electronics. And right there we just sliced that LCD tape, and you can see it pulls right off. So here's the LCD of the iPad mini, and if you flip it over, you can see that there was some adhesive and then the LCD wire that we just removed. So let's set that aside. So now that we've removed the LCD from the logic board right here, we're going to be removing the entire digitizer. It's important to keep in mind that the digitizer is connected to the home button wire, so they come out as one piece. So to do that, right below where the LCD wire is, we're going to be clipping this up, or unclipping that. You can hear it unclipping. I'll zoom in for you. So we unclipped that, and then we're going to be, there's a little piece of adhesive holding the digitizer wire on. So we're going to be careful about peeling that adhesive back, just because you don't want to rip any of the wires. So now that we've peeled that adhesive back, you can use your hands to pull that digitizer wire back. Right there is seen right there. So you see that the digitizer has a little, looks like a microcontroller on it right here. This whole piece that's connected by this black wire is going to come off with the digitizer, so we're going to raise that carefully. We may need to apply a little bit of heat just to loosen it up. You don't want too much, but you'll want enough to make sure that it loosens up that adhesive. So now that we've gotten some heat on that, let's go ahead and we'll use our little iSesamo tool, so be careful you're not going to break anything. You can see it's much more willing to come up under that when there's a little bit of heat. So you want to be very careful with this. And you can see the digitizer is coming up and out, and then there's a little bit of adhesive, so we're going to cut that. And you see that right there, the digitizer cable came out. So now that we have disassembled the iPad mini, now let's go about reassembling it. This is the same procedure you'd use if you replace the screen or if you're replacing the LCD. So to go over real quickly, what we've done is we've cut some blue adhesive that we sell that's rather amazing into the size that we need, and we applied it where we had ripped the previous black adhesive off before. This stuff's very good. It's only about 75 cents each. And as always, we're going to reapply the digitizer first, which you see right here, and then the LCD second, and then we're going to remove the adhesive and clamshell it up and seal it up. So far, we've gone through this repair. We've gone through 25 screws. You had 3 right here, 1, 2, 3. Then you had 18 on the perimeter of the metal plate, and then we have 4 holding the LCD together. So let's start this reassembly. We're going to move the LCD out of the way, and one of the things that's also very important is using a microfiber cleaning cloth, which we sell as well, to make sure you remove any oil or smudges on the digitizer. And this is very important unless you want fingerprints under your digitizer when you reassemble it. On a new digitizer that we sell, there'll be a piece of film that you can peel off and use that that has a clean screen under it. But let's go ahead and reassemble this digitizer. So you can remember how it attached, so we're going to set it right there, and I'll zoom in so you can see this. You can drop it down, and there's a little bit of adhesive that's just going to stick right back in right here. So let's put that down,
and you can almost feel it drop in. So it's dropped in like that. And then you just wiggle it into the correct place, and then you can bend the digitizer wire gently. So there's a little adhesive under it, so bend the digitizer wire gently, and then you're going to reattach it like this, and you're going to feel it click. Don't push too hard, you just got to baby it in almost. So you can feel it gently click in, and then you can push that adhesive that's on the back side of this little microcontroller down a little bit. Okay, so now that we have that, what next is up, I'm going to clean the digitizer again in case you accidentally touched it. Just be gentle doing this. So next up, we're going to attach the LCD back on, and it's important to clean this as well. Compressed air and a light fiber cloth that we're using works great. So you want to clean it a little bit, and then you can shoot it with some compressed air and get any residual dust that's been hanging out off that. So now that we've gotten that, we're going to turn that over like this, and you can see the LCD connection. It's going to just drop in, and then you can put it right there, and you're going to wait for it to click. So right there we felt it click. You can push that wire down, and then you can set the LCD on the digitizer. I'm going to use one of our suction cups just to hold it up, just so it doesn't damage the LCD or get anything dirty. So the suction cups are holding it up at the clamshell design, and remember we got to put the little shield, the metal shield, back on there, which is 3 screws. So we're going to do that. So drop the shield in, and so this shield holds down the LCD, home button, digitizer, and battery terminals and wires to the logic board. So it's fairly important that you get this on correctly. So now that we've reattached the LCD and digitizer and home button cables back to the logic board and secured it with the shield with the 3 screws, we're going to put on the metal mid plate back inside, which has 18 screws securing it in, and these 18 screws are 9 on each side. So you can see how it's riveted. So we're going to drop that in. You're going to feel it clipping a little bit. And then we'll fast forward this as we're reassembling it. Alright, so now that we have reattached the mid frame, I'm just going to clean it. And we are going to be flipping the LCD back down over onto it. So we're going to gently be doing this. You don't want to stress any wires. But you can feel the LCD drop down. And it looks like we had accidentally screwed one of the LCD screws in. We're going to remove that. Alright, so now that we're have the LCD back on, you're going to drop it back down like this, making sure there's no dust or fingerprints on it. You can see the LCD fits flush right back where we removed it from. And then we're going to put the 4 screws in around it, and then we are going to clean it and then drop the the digitizer back on top. So we'll put in the 4 screws. Remember, there's this 1 screw on the bottom or the top left that is surrounded with tape, and then we have those 2 screws on the bottom which have foam on them. Okay, so now that we have the 4 screws in, we're going to clean the LCD all nice. And then we can clean the bottom of the digitizer. And you want to be very diligent about cleaning the LCD because you don't want any fingerprints left under it. Okay, so now that we have the LCD and digitizer, we can fold down the adhesive back in, and let's turn it on to test it, just to make sure everything's working. You see the logo is turned on there. We'll slide this back a little bit just to double check. And I'm not sealing it up right now, but I'm just making sure that everything's going to work when we do seal it back up. Okay, so you can see that it's on. Let's make sure everything's working. Looks like it. Home button. Alright, so now that we see that the digitizer and LCD are both working, we can fold it back down, and I'll power it off. It's kind of tricky, but you hold the power down. So if you remember, we put our own blue adhesive right here. We cut it and put it on to replace the adhesive we removed. The digitizers we sell should have new adhesive back on them, so you would actually peel off all of this adhesive. So now that we have the LCD back in place, the digitizer cable, and the adhesive back in place, we're going to be we've already cleaned it with a microfiber cloth and some compressed air. We are going to be cleaning it one more time before we seal it up. You want to make sure everything works and is clean. Blast it with some air. And one of the things that you need to be careful about when you're putting it back in is the adhesive behind the digitizer cable right here may have stuck the cable to it, and it's going to cause, when you close it, to be difficult. So if you need to, we're going to heat this up a tiny bit just to soften that adhesive underneath that cable. And keep in mind the home button runs to this flex as well, and we're going to be closing it up, and you want to make sure that cable is sticking out. You can see the cable is unstuck from the back of that, which will allow it to seal up nicely. So you're going to line up the bezel with the bottom right there. You can see that lining up right here. So you line that up. You want to do one last compressed air under it just to get out any dust. And then we're going to be slowly dropping the digitizer back on. So you see it? We're dropping it back on. We're making sure it's lined up on all the four corners. And then when you get it, you want to make sure there's no dust underneath the screen. And then we're going to seal it around the perimeter. You can use a heat gun again to seal it, or if you installed it back on correctly, the new digitizer should just drop on into the appropriate location. So let's turn it on, make sure it's still powering on. Good, that's good news. And then we're going to run our hands, and you can do firmly around the edges to make sure that the new adhesive is attached on. And we can clean the screen. Looks like the screen just powered on. And that is how you do a digitizer and or LCD replacement on the iPad mini. Thank you for watching. Once again, you can buy everything you saw here in the video. The suction cups are incredible. The German screwdrivers are great. The iCracked iSesamo tools and the adhesive and heat gun are all great tools to have with this repair. Thank you for watching, and as always, visit us online at www.icrack.com.